Let's go. Your boy Trey with Let's Just Talk Books with Kara. And we are starting with this is the Chronicle of Narnia.
Yes, this is the Chronicles of Narnia, The Magician's Nephew, which is by
Oh,
Chris Lewis. We are on chapter 5, The Deplorable World.
do it.
The children were facing one another across the pillar where the bell hung, still trembling, though it no longer gave out any note. Suddenly, they heard a soft noise from the end of the room, which was still undamaged. They turned quick as lightning to see what it was. One of the robed figures, the furthest off one of all, the woman, whom Diggory thought so beautiful, was rising from its chair. When she stood up, they realized that she was even taller than they had thought, and you could see at once, not only from her crown and robes, but from the flash of her eyes and the curve of her lips, that she was a great queen. She looked round the room and saw the damage and saw the children, but you could not guess from her face what she thought of either, or whether she was surprised. She came forward with long, swift strides. "Who has awoken me? Who has broken spell?" she asked. "I think it must have been me," said Diggory. "You?" said the queen, laying her hand on his shoulder, a white, beautiful hand, but Diggory couldn't feel that it was strong as steel pincers. "You? But you are only a child, a common child. Anyone can see at a glance that you have no drop of royal or noble blood in your veins. How did such as you dare to enter this house?" "We've come from another world by magic," said Polly, who thought it was high time the queen took some notice of her as well as of Diggory. "Is this true?" said the queen, still looking at Diggory and not giving Polly even a glance. "Yes, it is," said he. The queen put her other hand under his chin and forced it up so that she could see his face better. Diggory tried to stare back, but he soon had to let his eyes drop. There was something about hers that overpowered him. After she had studied him for a while, for well over a minute, she let go of his chin and said, "You are no magician. The mark of it is not on you. You must be only the servant of a magician. It is on another's magic that you have traveled here." "It was my Uncle Andrew," said Diggory. At the moment, not in the room itself, but from somewhere very close, there came first a rumbling, then a creaking, and then a roar of falling masonry, and the floor shook. "There is great peril here," said the queen. "The whole palace is breaking up. If we are not out of it in a few minutes, we shall be buried under the ruin." She spoke as calmly as if she had been merely mentioning the time of day. "Come," she added, and held out a hand to each of the children. Polly, who was disliking the queen and feeling rather sulky, would not have let her hand be taken if she could have helped it. But though the queen spoke so calmly, her movements were as quick as thought. Before Polly knew what was happening, her left hand had been caught in a hand so much larger and stronger than her own that she could do nothing about it. "This is a terrible woman," thought Polly. "She's strong enough to break my arm with one twist. And now that she's got my left hand, I can't get at my yellow ring. If I tried to stretch across and get my right hand into my left pocket, I mightn't be able to reach it before she asked me what I was doing. Whatever happens, we mustn't let her know about the rings. I do hope Diggory has the sense to keep his mouth shut. I wish I could get a word with him alone." The queen led them out of the hall of images into a long corridor, and then through a whole maze of halls and stairs and courtyards. Again and again they heard parts of the great palace collapsing, sometimes quite close to them. Once a huge arch came thundering down only a moment after they had passed through it. The queen was walking quickly. The children had to trot to keep up with her, but she showed no sign of fear. Diggory thought, "She's wonderfully brave and strong. She's what I call a queen. I do hope she's going to tell us the story of this place." She did tell them certain things as they went along. "That is the door to the dungeons," she would say, or "that passage leads to the principal torture chambers," or This was the old banqueting hall where my great-grandfather bade 700 nobles to a feast and killed them all before they had drunk their fill. They had had rebellious thoughts. They came at last into a hall larger and loftier than any they had yet seen. From its size and from the great doors at the far end, Diggory thought that now at last they must be coming to the main entrance. In this he was quite right. The doors were dead black, either ebony or some black metal, which is not found in our world. They were fastened with great bars, most of them too high to reach, and all too heavy to lift. He wondered how they would get out. The queen let go of his hand and raised her arm. She drew herself up to her full height and stood rigid. Then she said something which they couldn't understand, but it sounded horrid, and made an action as if she were throwing something towards the doors. And those high and heavy doors trembled for a second, as if they were made of silk, and then crumbled away till there was nothing left of them but a heap of dust on the threshold. Phew! Whistled Diggory. Has your master magician, your uncle, power like mine? Asked the queen, firmly seizing Diggory's hand again. But I shall know later. In the meantime, remember what you have seen. This is what happens to things and to people who stand in my way. Much more light than they had yet seen in that country was pouring in through the now empty doorway, and when the queen led them out through it, they were not surprised to find themselves in the open air. The wind that blew in their faces was cold, yet somehow stale. They were looking from a high terrace, and there was a great landscape out below them. Low down and near the horizon hung a great red sun, far bigger than our sun. Diggory felt at once that it was also older than ours, a sun near the end of its life, weary of looking down upon that world. To the left of the sun and higher up there was a single star, big and bright. Those were the only two things to be seen in the dark sky. They made a dismal group, and on the earth in every direction, as far as the eye could reach, there spread a vast city in which there was no living thing to be seen. And all the temples, towers, palaces, pyramids, and bridges cast long, disastrous-looking shadows in the light of that withered sun. Once a great river had flowed through the city, but the water had long since vanished, and it was now only a wide ditch of gray dust. Look well on that which no eyes will ever see again, said the queen. Such was Charn, the great city, the city of the King of Kings, the wonder of the world, perhaps of all worlds. Does your uncle rule any city as great as this, boy? No, said Diggory. He was going to explain that Uncle Andrew didn't rule any cities, but the queen went on. It is silent now, but I have stood here when the whole air was full of the noises of Charn, the trampling of feet, the creaking of wheels, the cracking of the whips, and the groaning of slaves, the thunder of chariots and the sacrificial drums beating in the temples. I have stood here, but that was near the end, when the roar of battle went up from every street and the river of Charn ran red. She paused and added, all in one moment, one woman blotted it out forever. Who? Said Diggory in a faint voice, but he had already guessed the answer. I, said the queen, I, Jadis, the last queen, but the queen of the world. The two children stood silent, shivering in the cold wind. It was my sister's fault, said the queen. She drove me to it. May the curse of all the powers rest upon her forever. At any moment I was ready to make peace, yes, and to spare her life too, if only she would yield me the throne, but she would not. Her pride has destroyed the whole world. Even after the war had begun, there was a solemn promise that neither side would use magic. But when she broke her promise, what could I do? Fool! As if she did not know that I had more magic than she. She even knew that I had the secret of the deplorable word. Did she think she was always a weakling, that I would not use it? What was it? Said Diggory. That was the secret of secrets, said the Queen Jadis. It had long been known to the great kings of our race that there was a word which, if spoken with the proper ceremonies, would destroy all living things except the one who spoke it. But the ancient kings were weak and soft-hearted, and bound themselves and all who should come after them with great oaths, never even to seek after the knowledge of that word. But I learned it in a secret place, and paid a terrible price to learn it. I did not use it until she forced me to it. I fought to overcome her by every other means. I poured out the blood of my armies like water. Beast, muttered Polly. The last great battle, said the queen, raged for 3 days here in Charn itself. For 3 days I looked down upon it from this very spot. I did not use my power till the last of my soldiers had fallen, and the accursed woman, my sister, at the head of her rebels, was halfway up those great stairs that led up from the city to the terrace. Then I waited till we were so close that we could see each other's faces. She flashed her horrible, wicked eyes upon me and said, "Victory!" "Yes," said I, "victory, but not yours." Then I spoke the deplorable word. A moment later, I was the only living thing beneath the sun. "But the people," gasped Diggory. "What people, boy?" asked the queen. "All the ordinary people," said Polly, "who'd never done you any harm, and the women, and the children, and the animals." "Don't you understand?" said the queen, still speaking to Diggory. "I was the queen. They were all my people. What else were they there for but to do my will?" "It was rather hard luck on them all the same," said he. "I had forgotten that you are only a common boy. How should you understand reasons of state? You must learn, child, that what would be wrong for you or for any of the common people is not wrong in a great queen such as I. The weight of the world is on our shoulders. We must be freed from all rules. Ours is a high and lonely destiny." Diggory suddenly remembered that Uncle Andrew had used exactly the same words, but they sounded much grander when Queen Jadis had said them, perhaps because Uncle Andrew was not 7 feet tall and dazzlingly beautiful. "What did you do then?" said Diggory. "I had already cast strong spells on the hall where the images of my ancestors sit, and the force of those spells was that I should sleep among them like an image myself, and need neither food nor fire, though it was 1,000 years till one came and struck the bell and awoke me." "Was it the deplorable word that made the sun like that?" asked Diggory. "Like what?" said Jadis. "So big, so red, and so cold." "It has always been so," said Jadis, "at least for hundreds of thousands of years. Have you a different sort of sun in your world?"
Mm, it's my turn.
Your turn. I figured so. I could hear you.
But this is getting good.
Yeah.
Actually, getting really good. Is this just book one?
Oh, this is book one, The Magician's Nephew. I actually only have like 2 pages of chapter 5 left. Do you want me to finish chapter 5?
Yeah, if you want to
Okay. We will
do it.
finish chapter 5.
All right.
Like, yeah, just 2 pages left.
Okay.
"Yes, it's smaller and yellower, and it gives a good deal more heat." The queen gave a long drawn "Aha!" and Diggory saw on her face that same hungry and greedy look which he had lately seen on Uncle Andrew's. "So," said she, "yours is a younger world." She paused for a moment to look once more at the deserted city, and she was sorry for all the evil she had done there. She certainly didn't show it. And then she said, "Oh, and if she was sorry for all the evil she had done there, she certainly didn't show it." And then she said, "Now let's be going. It is cold here at the end of all the ages." "Going where?" asked both the children. "Where?" repeated Jadis in surprise. "To your world, of course." Polly and Diggory looked at each other aghast. Polly had disliked the queen from the first, and even Diggory, now that he had heard the story, felt that he had seen quite as much of her as he wanted. Certainly, she was not at all the sort of person one would like to take home, and if they did like, they didn't know how they could. What they wanted was to get away themselves, but Polly couldn't get at her ring, and of course Diggory couldn't go without her. Diggory got very red in the face and stammered, "Oh, our world? I didn't know you wanted to go there." What else were you sent here for if not to fetch me? Asked Jadis. I'm sure you wouldn't like our world at all, said Diggory. It's not her sort of place, is it, Polly? It's very dull, not worth seeing, really. It will soon be worth seeing when I rule it, answered the Queen. Oh, but you can't, said Diggory. It's not like that. They wouldn't let you, you know. The Queen gave a contemptuous smile. Many great kings, she said, thought they could stand against the House of Charm, but they all fell, and their very names are forgotten, foolish boy. Do you think that I, with my beauty and my magic, will not have your world at my feet before a year has passed? Prepare your incantations and take me there at once. This is perfectly frightful, said Diggory to Polly. Perhaps you fear for this uncle of yours, said Jadis. But if he honors me duly, he shall keep his life and his throne. I am not coming to fight against him. He must be a very great magician if he has found how to send you here. Is he king of your whole world, or only part? He isn't king of anywhere, said Diggory. You are lying, said the Queen. Does not magic always go with the royal blood? Who ever heard of common people being magicians? I can see the truth whether you speak it or not. Your uncle is the great king and the great enchanter of your world, and by his art he has seen the shadow of my face in some magic mirror or some enchanted pool, and for the love of my beauty he has made a potent spell which shook your world to its foundations and sent you across the vast gulf between world and world to ask my favor and to bring me to him. Answer me, is this not how it was? Well, not exactly, said Diggory. Not exactly, shouted Polly. Why, it's absolutely bosh from beginning to end. Minions, cried the Queen, turning to rage upon Polly and seizing her hair at the very top of her head, where it hurts most. But in so doing, she let go of both the children's hands. Now, shouted Diggory. And quick, shouted Polly. They plunged their left hands into their pockets. They did not even need to put the rings on. The moment they touched them, the whole of that dreary world vanished from their eyes. They were rushing upward, and a warm green light was growing near overhead. That is the end of chapter 5. You have to unmute yourself now.
That's what it was. Oh my goodness. You hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Okay. That was good. That was good. Okay. That's intense. Um,
It did get intense.
that's intense. And that's chapter 5.
That was chapter 5, yeah.
How many chapters are in book 1?
Let me see. Let me see. There are 15 chapters.
See, okay.
So
Okay.
we're like a third of the way through.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. Give me one second. Let me pull it up. Where we left off, I think I just had it here.
What
Okay.
were, what were your thoughts when I was reading?
I think, well, for one, I mean, fighting to like also not perish in terms of sleep.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Well, because again, you have the perfect voice for reading. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
But um I think for me it's a matter of just knowing like I think for me when it comes to books and stories in general, it's character development. That's probably the biggest for me. And
Hmm.
so though I know the movie, or to some extent know the movie, and then though I know the movie itself, the like hearing you bring up the actual characters that we know and remember, I think it's very important to again just have that certain level of consistency when it comes to following the character and how the character is developing. That kind of makes me feel a part of the book.
Did they make a Magician's Nephew movie? I know they made the Chronicles of Narnia, which this queen, I believe, is the queen that ends up in Narnia.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But this is like the prequel to it, basically.
It is like the prequel, exactly. It is actually. You're right. You're right. So
Because Polly and Diggory
mhm,
aren't actually in, the
the
Chronicles
movie.
of Narnia because
Hmm.
they're not part of that. This is the before um Narnia. So
It
they did
is.
do that.
How many books, how many series do you have of this?
So I have the full um like the Chronicles of Narnia series, which is
Mm,
um so it starts with The Magician's Nephew,
mm,
the one we're reading, which is like the prequel to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, um, which is the movie.
yeah.
There's The Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, which they also made a movie of, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which I also think they made a movie of, The
Mm,
Silver Chair, and The Last Battle. So there's 7 books in total.
let's go. 7 books. So you have all 7.
I do.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Oh yeah. This is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. All right.
You are reading.
Yep. So we tagging me in. Let me see.
You gotta turn your camera on.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Mhm. All right. So we are reading Run. This again is like a sci-fi horror type of book. That's very, very intense off the bat, but at the same time, it's a very unique story. One that'll definitely leave you wondering, what have I watched? So here we go. And again, this is by Patty Larson. All right, so we left off on chapter 3. Reed's mind repeats a mantra as he runs. This can't be happening. This can't be happening. It won't stop running. It won't stop running as much as his body won't stop driving itself into his psyche over and over again as his legs piston up and down, sneakers pounding over the trail. And yet he knows it is as real as the rocks and fallen leaves sliding under his racing feet, as the moon shining down on him and the pine scented wind forcing itself in and out of aching lungs. A headlong sprawl forces him to stop. His knees are suddenly on fire, palms aching from the impact, mouth clogged with decaying leaves and dirt. Reed spits out the mess, rolling over on his side. Whimpering in terror, he drags himself into the trees again and scans the path behind for signs of the hunter. Nothing. No one. Not even a hint of movement. He doesn't trust his eyes or any of his other senses. How can he? The one who pursues him moves like liquid lightning, as silent as the wind. Whoever the man is, he looks normal on the outside, but instinctually feels like a wild animal, only better, smarter, able to reason and react with human instinct and cunning. Reed has no doubt the hunter can and will find him and attack without warning. He can't think about the boy, either of the boys, for that matter. Here, they hunt him, but he needs to think of himself. Reed slams that reality into his consciousness until he really believes it. There are others like him out here. He has no way of knowing how many, and they are dying, just like he will die if he doesn't get out of there, get out of there somehow. He still feels responsible and guilty, The first boy gapes at him in his mind, while the second one screams, "Please!" in an endless cry for help. It's almost enough to drive him mad. Instead, he decides to run. But but when he tries to go on, his body refuses to move. Both legs give out on him, his ankles throbbing from the fall. Reed is unable to run for the moment. He hugs himself in the dark, knees to his chest, making himself as small as possible while he fights off the horrors he witnessed. He manages to quiet the panting protest being torn from his throat and rocks back and forth on his hunches while his gaze scans the path and the trees around him over and over again, never ending cycle of fear, guilt, and shame. All right, let's see here. He should have saved that kid. He could have. If he had just moved faster, been smarter. It shouldn't be happening. Why is it happening? That leads his aching head down a fresh path. How did he get here? Memory, memory flickers over the past at last, taking him to the time before he was kidnapped, before he dropped into hell. He's relieved to let go of the path of the death, cries and the accusing stare of the dead boy's body. Yeah. Reed is able to recall the day before and cling to it. Or was it the day before? His concept of time is lost in the face of what is happening to him. Lucy, the restaurant, so fancy he felt like an intruder in his jeans and hoodie. Her choice and her treatment. She acted like she owned the place and no one could say a word. They celebrated. He remembers she finally managed to get him out of foster care. A whole year he spent after the tragic deaths of the parents, living in someone else's home at the mercy of the state, while his 20-year-old sister struggled to get her on her own life. He sorry, let me read that again. Struggled to get her own life together. He honestly never thought she would. Was positive he would be in a state care until he was 18. Not only that, Ree was sure she forgot him until the very day she came to pick him up. He was so shocked when his foster mother called him downstairs to see Lucy standing there at the door, holding the paperwork that set him free. The smile on her face reminded him why he loved her. All his resentment disappeared. She looked good, smelled good when she hugged him, body thinner than he remembered. Her blonde hair, her blonde hair, much lighter than his tickling his face. As she squeezed him so hard he choked. See here. He didn't care. He hugged her back and took in her new life. Her car was expensive, her clothes designer, hair and makeup flawless. She looked like a model or a famous actress. We're set up now, baby brother. She smiled at him past her big, dark sunglasses and patted his knee. Let's see. Patted his knee as he settled his hastily packed bag in the backseat of her black convertible. The combination of her new car smell and freshly dyed leather making him nauseated. Found a good job, a great boss, set up. He hadn't asked her why she didn't contact him that long year they were apart. Why she didn't call, write, email. It didn't matter. They were together. Reed swipes at a thin tear tracing down his cheek. I'm sorry, a thin tear tracing down his cheek. He doesn't have time to feel sorry for himself. Lucy, where's his sister? Mr. Syracuse, Lucy said as she pulled up to their new building. It looked expensive, Mr. Syracuse, she repeated as she led Reed onto the well-appointed elevator that streamed soft music at him. Mr. Syracuse, Lucy whispered as she smiled at him and unlocked the door to their apartment. He's great, Reed. You'll like him. He's got big plans for me, and he can't wait to meet you. The place was posh, plush, She loved showing him around. Nice furniture, great kitchen, a bathroom. Mom would have died for. And his room was huge, stocked full of clothes too. He had his own TV, a brand new iPad. How did she get so lucky? This was way better than anything they had when their parents were alive. He wanted to ask the cost of it all, what the real price was beyond the money it took to buy. But that was the natural cynic in him, his father's influence. Still, he wondered if his sister got herself in over her head, but he was too happy to be with her to go there just yet. Is this the price? Reed's terror is suddenly not just for himself, his sister. She has to be out here too, somewhere. There's no way she will survive without him. Reed's panic is so strong it drives him to his feet again. His mind races. He has to find her. She's all he has. He's all she has. He refuses to lose her again. But as he spins in place and his mind desperately searches around, as though he'll find her right there with him, his heart cracks down the middle. He has no way of finding her. She could be dying right now at the hands of the hunter, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. He hates the feeling of being worthless. He had enough of that in foster care, chauffeured from one house to the next, treated like he was an inconvenience at best, a burden, a waste of skin at worst. His father taught him better than that, to respect himself, and he clung to that the whole year he waited for Lucy to come get him. Standing there, desperate to find his sister, Reed feels his will crumple at last, as it never has before. There are no options. He is lost and alone with the men out there hunting him and kids like him. Reed has no doubt if Lucy comes in contact with the hunter, she won't last a moment. He slams one hand onto the closest tree and swears softly. The pain is enough to bring him to his senses. I need a plan. Easier thought of than done. Still, it is something to focus on, and he needs that very much right now. Reed resumes his crouch, finding the darkest shadow he can as his mind searches for a way out. It triggers another memory. He had been in bed, the comfortable mattress a far cry from the lumpy, musty things he spent the past year sleeping in. Funny how every foster home had the same kind of bed. He was stuffed with good food and a beer his sister let him drink. Lucy even tucked him in. He remembers it clearly. She smiled down at him, kissed his forehead just like Mom used to, told him she loved him. So what happened? He was sleeping. The door slammed open in the dark. The whole apartment deep as pitch. I'm sorry, the whole apartment deep as pitch. Reed struggled, remembers fighting, but there were large shadows in the night, stronger than him, and something fell on his face. Pressed to his nose and mouth, it stank. He sank into quiet. He sank into quiet to the sound of Lucy screaming. Reed shudders and pulls himself from the memory, the pit of his stomach rolling over slowly once. It is true then. See here. Sorry, this thing jumped. Reed shudders and pulls himself from the memory. We actually think he sings it quiet. Okay, Reed shudders and pulls himself from the memory, the pit of his stomach rolling over slowly once. It is true then. She is out there with him. This Syracuse she mentioned. He has to be in on it, sold them to some sicko, maybe, some freak who hunts people for fun. Reed's anger surges, and for a moment it gives him power. But it isn't as strong as his fear. It has only enough energy to drive him to his feet one last time. He has to find his sister. She was always the weak one, the brittle flower, just like their mother. At least that was what Dad always said, and Reed believed him at that time. Nothing Lucy did up until now gave him reason to doubt either, and Dad would want Reed to find her and keep her safe, if possible. Even though he was years younger, Reed always looked out for her as best he could. Yeah. All right. And that was 10. Well, that was
Yep.
about 10.
Mm. Oh,
How was it?
It was good. We're still in the middle of it.
It's we're like slowly chiseling away, and I know we kind of missed the past like two. So this is
Yeah.
getting good. I'm like really enjoying it.
That's intense. It's
It's
intense.
intense.
Yeah. Because like now his sister's in there.
Oh,
Being like
well, he thinks. He thinks.
well, we're getting more backstory
Yep.
of
Yep.
like what might be happening.
Yep.
It's like
Hmm.
when it first starts, you're just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Pretty in the midst of it.
Yeah.
He's like, he's there,
Exactly.
kidnapped or
Yep.
some crazy.
No, you're right.
And then you're like, what is happening right now?
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. It's. I guess my question to you then is like, so do you think that she's out there too, or do you feel like perhaps there was a level of
I don't
perhaps, yeah, you get what I'm about to say, her selling him off.
I don't know. I don't know if it's
Mm-hmm.
like her or if it's like I wouldn't necessarily say like okay, she might not be out there, but I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily say that she sold him off. It could just be that whoever she's with is dangerous
Mm-hmm.
and wanted him because of something. And like not that she's necessarily involved, but also she I mean she could be in a sense. I don't know. I don't know much about her yet. She just got introduced.
Yeah, she did. Mm-hmm.
So I'm still learning about Reed too.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like I don't know. I don't have those judgments yet. But it's interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely think that whoever she well, Syracuse is the name of her like person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Syracuse is the name. He's some guy that like hired her.
Yeah. It's like,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah. His or like gave her the money, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So
Yep.
so he's involved somehow, for sure. He's involved.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, you're jogging my memory back to I don't remember. I'm gonna be honest with you. But you're jogging my memory.
Uh, that's my prediction. That's my thought.
Yeah. I think it's a amazing and very, very good thought. I truly do. Wow. This is good. This is good. And this is really good content. I feel I'm still recording. But this is really good. This is really good content, kid. Like when it comes to all my groups, I would say this group in terms of recording is probably the one I've been needing the most. And this, I think, including the reading, I don't care what nobody say. It ain't plagiarism. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Well,
hopefully,
I mean, hopefully it's fine, but we are giving credit to the authors.
exactly. We're giving,
And if you do, I mean, we're probably not gonna get the whole books like read, like necessarily.
yeah,
Um, because I don't know. So like maybe we can just do like little chapters here and there so that it's not
exactly,
the whole book.
exactly.
'Cause that way people will have to you still have
Buy
to
it.
buy the book.
Hmm.
Okay? You still should buy the book. If you're interested at all, you should still buy the book.
Exactly, exactly. I agree. I agree.
So
A little disclaimer, right?
yeah, a little disclaimer, little I guess advertisement if you're intrigued. Because
Right.
like we literally started now, which I think is kind of good. We started kind of in the middle of the books. Um, because I was on chapter 5 and you
Yeah.
3.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
so yeah. So I guess that's what we can do.
I love it. I love it. This is incredible. I think it's just amazing. I think that um, where we're going with both books is a level of anticipation. Because even with the Chronicles of Narnia, it's that same level of buildup.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like the same book.
It's been getting like Yeah, it's definitely gotten more intense. And I've been enjoying like what you said, this is a book you've already read before.
Yeah.
And but you're just like and it's the same with me with the Chronicles of Narnia. I've read all the
Hmm.
books before, but it's just really nice to like come back and read them again.
Yes.
Like
With someone else too.
and with someone else who's like, well, you haven't I've never heard I've never had the experience of reading Run before, so
Hmm.
it's like my first time. So it's like exciting.
Yeah.
And I don't know about have you ever read The Magician's Nephew?
Mm-mm. I've never read any
No.
of the books, just the movie.
So that's like, so it's I think it's fun to have
Hmm.
somebody who hasn't experienced
Hmm.
books too. Like I think that that's like it adds another layer to it.
Absolutely. Hmm. I agree. And I love it. Thank you so much for taking out that time and doing this with me. Okay.
Yeah, I enjoy books. I enjoy reading. That's why I wanted to be a moderator for it.
Exactly. And you've given me that passion back. Like you know, you get so busy with life to
Mhm.
sit down in like your room and have like the lighting, the vibe. You know, the setting of where you read is just as important as like what you read to me.
Yeah.
To me. Honestly, how you feel about that?
No, I mean, like it does make a difference.
Yeah.
Because it can like when you're relaxed or when you're in a place that's
Yeah.
like, you can bring yourself into the world, into the book better.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
so, so it can make a difference for sure. I think for me, it's more about the mindset
Yeah.
of it than it is necessarily the place that I'm
Yeah.
at. It's more
Hmm.
like the mindset, being in that mindset of like diving into the book. And if it's a really good book that like draws you in,
Yeah.
like that's even better.
Hmm. Amen. Amen. Like I do with that. Amen. Amen.
Even which I mean
Amen.
it's still Sunday, so
Yay. It's still Sunday. It's still Sunday. Let's go. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Kay. I'm just gonna end the recording so you can stay on, but just gonna end the recording real quickly here. But again, thank you so much. Again, we're reading Run and the Chronicles of Narnia. What's the subtitle?
it's The Chronicles of Narnia, The Magician's Nephew. This is book one.
Okay, that's dope. And same with the Run. There's a Run book one. I think it's like a series that's a collection of about four books. So I think it's like Run, Hide, Fight, and something else.
Mm.
Um, so it's like we got a lot to go through.
I know we
Okay.
got time. We got time.
Okay, we got time. Yeah.
With these series.
Yeah.
Yeah, we chose we chose
Yeah.
series
Yeah. We so serious. Yeah. Yeah, we're in here. Yep.
in it.
We're in it. I love it. I freaking love it. I'm so hyped to like keep going. Let's go. So, guys, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Again, it's your boy Trey with Let's Just Talk Trey. And this is our Let's Just Talk Books podcast with our moderator slash admin, Kara. And before we close out, Kara, anything you want to tell them or say, or we're good?
Well, I mean, if you are interested in books, like books, you should come join us and
Let's
bring your
go.
favorite book because
Let's
like
go.
we're kind of doing a
Yep.
popcorn book reading. So we'd love to have you join us.
I love it. That was perfect. Thank you so much, Kay. Thank you guys so much. And again, until next time, peace.